We're up to Daf Beis Amud Aleph in the Daf Yerushalmi, and immediately begins with a question, which questions the assumption which we made at the beginning of the bottom of Aleph on Beis. In Aleph on Beis, we assumed that the time of Mishash Kohanim Nichnasim Lecho B'Trumasan of the Mishnah and the time of Rabbi Chia Mishash Nichnasim Lecho Pidam B'Leil Shabbos, the time when the people come in to eat their Friday night meal, are the same time. And Yerushalmi is astonished at this. Isa Chamei, come and see. Check it out. Often Isa Chamei has the same meaning in the Yerushalmi as Toshma and the Bavli, but here it doesn't seem to mean quite the same thing. It means that let us be bewildered at this comparison. When the Kohanim come to eat their truma, it's still they, with the stars. Now, it's important to understand, especially in Eretz Yisrael, when the three stars come out, indicating that it's the three medium stars, there's still a lot of ambient light around. So therefore, it's kind of early in the what we would call the post-Seis time period. Whereas Shabbos, when people come in to eat their bread on Shabbos, it's already an hour or two into the night. It's much later, much darker. How can you say that they are both similar to each other? They're not the same time. They're very far apart. So Rabbi Yossi answers. I'm Rabbi Yossi. Kufraya di dikaya the orchosei mistalka adzehu yama. So we're talking about those kafranaya dikaya where they go toward the meal while it's still daytime. So what are the kafranaya dikaya? So the Moshe says, "Tipat Adam Meishosh Bnei Adam Nichnasim Lav Kol Bnei Adam Kamar." Adik in Shei Da'achle Ba'Ishayt Gon Me'ilin Kafranai D'Kaya. It's not all people, but rather it is the people who live in the Kafranai D'Kaya. Be'el Bnei Kfarim Ketanim Shein Lem Melocha Kol Kach. They don't have much work, and therefore they can prepare their V'yesh Lem Pnai Lachin Sulas B'Yom. They have time to prepare their meals from before Shabbos starts, which seems a bit strange. Obviously, you don't prepare your meal when Shabbos starts; it's after Tzeis. So the Mashgiach, who the Chofetz Chaim says writes in Haskam as the Mashgiach, Rabbi Sivitz of Pittsburgh's magnum opus on the Yerushalmi, that you can't learn Yerushalmi without the Mashgiach, which is a shocking statement, but Chofetz Chaim made it. He says that has a very original pshat here. He says the Irin Kafranai Dikikaya. These are towns in which the primary pursuit is growing sheep, behemadaka. So their primary pursuit is darkin, that their meals, the aruchos, mistalka, they come up ad to have a yemaima, that they have to their meals are pushed up from the beginning of the night. The tzadilun mekamech yusa, because at the time when the first hour or two into the night, they are still trying to feed their animals. As we know, you're supposed to feed your animals before you come to eat your own meal. So since they have a lot of sheep and they have to feed their animals beforehand, so therefore they go late. They start their meals much later into the night. So the people who start their meals late into the night, they're the kafranai dikaya. But otherwise, they would start at the same time as Shah Shani Kohanim Nichnasim Lecho B'Trumasan. Their very original pshat. The Sefer Charedim, who was actually one of the very early Achronim, and he is whose Perush appears on the bottom, I should say, of the Vilna, the Yerushalmi, has a different shot. He says, why are 1 or 2 hours in the night? So it's a very interesting idea. There's even though they come earlier home from their stores, because than they do the rest of the week. Ki'isa Masechah Shabbos paired by Memelikin. I date Kir Shofar. Like we learned Masechah Shabbos, that through the Kir Shofar, that they come home early, Shlo Chalu Shabbos. That was a blow shofar early to warn people to leave your stores while there's still a lot of time before Shabbos. Nevertheless, they eat late on Friday night. In the rest of the week, they wouldn't daven in shul. If you show you Batei Knesset Shalem Basada, because the shuls were in the fields. Mishun Fields Arvis Rishus, and since Fields Arvis, as we know later on, brachas is optional, not mandatory, at least it was. Everybody died in their own house. Though Shabbos Bilvad, only on those Shabbos, Sheboim Kulon Lebateim Ibod Yom, when everybody would come home early, they would go out to daven in shul, out in the fields. That's why we have takana that we do the bracha Magen Avos Friday night. So that everybody finishes together at the same time, come back in the city together. So then we so until they go out to the field and they daven and come back to their home, so it's an hour or something like that into the night. So the question was, who the Hanan says, how can you say it was parallel, similar to? This is the time coming to eat their truma, which is right after it says. And the Gemara's answer is Mishani Tipoter Tifaresh Horik Krovim, that which it says the time is similar, B'nei Kvaraya Ktanim. So he says B'nei Kvaraya Ktanim, they're small towns. Shadarkum Lemaher Listalik Minasadeh, they come very quickly home from the fields. The Kanes Lebesim Ibod Yom, to come home quickly. Emas Chayos HaSodeh, because they're afraid of the chayos in the city, right? The mistalka, so the mistalka adu yamama. Why? The tzarei lahom mikma. Not because they have limited time because that feed animals, but they're afraid. They are gathering themselves in. Literally, they hunt themselves out and come in because of the animals, the wild animals. She'ein yishuv gadol the karv l'tzeisko chavim. So there isn't because I read the word. Which are prevalent in place where it's not a big place. It's near Tseis, who when they come in to eat. Shapir matzlu mibod yom. And so the canned oven be it's still daylight. So the Amru Bebavli, Rab Matzah Shabbos, Erev Shabbos. As you know, you can daven early on Friday afternoon. According to this, though, the Kriyashma they read in shul, they weren't Yotze. Because they read it Mibod Yom. That's the case. The common boy in Cain, Lamakra. So that's going to ask, if that's the case, why did they read it at that time? It was not Yotze at that time. So there's also again a Shas here. The Shas says that Ayin Mogen Avram Simon Aras, if can have Efshe Shekem Shetzorach Lokazai Spas Balayla. Maybe the reason why they waited an hour or two into night is because they have to eat a kazayis pas when it's definitely nighttime. Etc. And he says, L'chein hayu noagim l'kadesh v'lechol ma'at miyad kadesh yizkor Shabbos k'yichaso kam kamo shos shtayim ochlu piton ikar suda. So he wants to say that according to Dadikaya, they used to eat as part of their meal right at the beginning in order to do kiddush mitzvahs, but the main part of the meal they used to do later on. Okay, so in any event, that was the question. Those are the type of towns where they made it an hour or two later. And the Gemara answers according to Dadikaya, whether it's going to the Mashbiach or according to the Charedim, according to many other pshatim which are given in the sugya, that those are the ones who had similar times to the times of the Kohanim. Okay, so now the Gemara has Tanya Kori Korim L'chein Lo Yotzei Dei Chavasa. If you read Shema prior to the actual time it says, then you're not Yotzei. Okay, Lama Korim Beis HaKnesset. So why are we in shul? So according to the Sefer Charedim, this is talking directly about those people in the Kafranai Dadikaya. Why did they? How are they Yotzei Shema? But according to most of the Farshim, it's a separate question. That the phenomenon exists that people say Shema early, even on a weekday also, when they daven shul. Why? What's the point? What are we doing it for? So, Rabbi Yossi, Anchor basically will taste the chavah. So you don't say in the shul in order to be yotzi chiv el kedei lama b'tfilah mitoch davar shel Torah. But just like we have the concept of ashrei before by mincha, in order to be made for davening, mitoch tefillah, mitoch Torah. So too we have the concept of Kriya Shema by Marav, in order to be made b'tfilah mitoch davar shel Torah. Rabbi Zia b'shem Rav. There is a sefer on Yerushalmi which I use a lot, which is not mentioned at least not often, as far as I know, in the article, which is that the Shai Torah is Eretz Yisrael. You can find it at HebrewBooks.org. It is a very comprehensive sefer. It's written by somebody who lived in Brisk around the time of the turn of the 20th century, and he's very creative. Sometimes he has very interesting insights and brings it from very different sources. Here he makes a point, which is something which you would have to check out throughout our learning Yerushalmi. He wants to say that Rabbi Yirmiyah in Yerushalmi is not always Rabbi Yirmiyah, who is the same Rabbi Yirmiyah in the Bavli. There is a Eretz Yisrael Dika Amoiro, his name is Rabbi Yirmiyah, who's not the same one as we find in the Bavli. So Rabbi Zira said, but again, I don't. The same which one would have to come to one's own conclusions as one learns Yerushalmi. As Yerushalmi says, "Safik birech hamazon, safik lo birech." If you have a suffix, whether you made a bracha birchas hamazon or not, tzarich levarach. Not to do birchas hamazon. See, b'chalta b'samat yirach. It says you eat and you get satisfied. You eat and you bench, so it says suffix doraisa. If you're not sure if you ate, if you bench, you have to bench. Suffix hispalo, suffix lo hispalo, hispalo suffix lo hispalo. If you have a suffix, whether you daven or not, al hispalo. Don't daven because it's only a chiyuv d'rabbanon, suffix d'rabbanon kula. Ulok Rabbi Yochanan. It's not a Rabbi Yochanan because Yochanan knows ulevai shiyah hispalo adam kol yom kulo. Lama shein filam avsida. Say this. Rabbi Yochanan knows. Why not? You can daven the whole day. There's no limit on tefillas nedava. You can daven as many voluntary tefillas as you want. Nowadays, our minhag is not to do it because we're afraid that you're not going to have proper kavanah. But back then, why not? It's daven as many tefillas nedava as you want. So Rabbi Yirmiyah says that's not the halacha. You can daven tefillas nedava, but we can't require you to daven tefillas nedava. Safek kara, safek lo kara. Whatever you have a safek, if you read Shema or didn't read Shema, which is why it's put down here. Nishmina min adah. Let's hear it from here. And the Rashi relay on the Charedim say that we're trying to bring a proof if Kriya Shema at night is Minatorah or Midrabbanah. Kriya Shema during the day, we know it seems to be definitely D'oraisa. What about Kriya Shema at night? So HaKorei Kodem Lachein Lo Yotzei Yidei Chavaso. If you read before it says Chav, you're not Yotzei Yer Chiyuv. The Kodem Lachein Lav Safeku, and before that isn't a suffix. And you say nevertheless, even though it's a suffix, ben hashmashos, it's a suffix, yom suffix laila. So lichayra, it would be Rabbanan. You don't have to read it because you're misupach. If you're not suffix, you don't suffix Rabbanan kula. But if you have to read it, say it over again. Hadamra suffix kara suffix lokra tzarich likros. Hadamra suffix kara suffix lokra tzarich likros. That means that Kriya Shema at night, lichayra is the raisa. So now we say that siman ladavar mishiyotzo kochavim. A siman for night is when this appears in several places. The Moshe says it's the Tosefta says the siman ladavar is yotzei kochavim. So what is it? The truth is that nightfall is a certain degree of darkness. We call it tzeitzachom because when you see the stars is an indication that it's dark enough. We consider tzeitzachom. But it's the indication of darkness. It's the darkness which is choshech, which is Laila, not the stars. So it's similar to davar seisel chavim. And what's a raya for this? Abishain raya davar. We don't have definite proof that that's how we measure determine nighttime. Seisel davar. We have a pasuk which alludes to this, which can be understood to refer to this concept. And it says in Sefer Nehemiah about when they're rebuilding the walls of Yerushalayim. At the same time, they had to watch themselves from their enemies, and they shouldn't attack them. It says, "Manachlosim melacha," who do the work. Part of us would do the work. Half of us would hold weapons. Melosa shachar, it says, come in from dawn until seis hakochavim. It says, at night they would just safeguard. They wouldn't work. Work was during the day. So it seems clear that nighttime is seis hakochavim, because seis hakochavim is when they used to stop working, and then it was halayla lemishmar. So we see it says hakochavim is laila. How many stars should come out? Because it'd be night. Rabbi Abba Papa said, if it's still only see one star, it's definitely daytime. One star is usually one of the planets. I believe it's Venus. The first comes out first. Shnayim Suffolk. If it's two, then it is a suffix, whether it is night or day. Shlosha Vadalai. If you see three, it's definitely night. Shnayim Suffolk. So it says, well, how can two is a suffix? It says, until it says Chavim. It says Chavim, that's already nighttime. And the Gra changes the girsa here in the next line, and he says that next two words he says not elamute but rather umute kochavim shnayim, minority mute rabim shnayim. So a mute rabim shnayim. So therefore you have a therefore you have let's check one see the article is not changing girsa inside. This was checking on that. Umute kochavim the minority of minimum stars is two. So how come it's how come you say that two is enough and need three? So he says, well, Yerushalmi answers, the first one's not taken into account. The says the first star, which is definitely daytime, local chashiv, it's not considered. But ad says the kama ashnayim achronim uzukai. So it says come until the second two, and I believe the reason is because the first one. I don't recall if someone says it here, but I believe for the reason is because the first one is a star, is a planet, not technically a star. Okay, Motzei the Erev Shabbos, on Erev Shabbos, Rokoch Rebechad V'Asam Malacha Potter. If you see one star on Erev Shabbos, you Malacha Potter. It's also Rabbanan sounds like, but you're Potter. You can actually see Venus during the daytime very often when it's even before the night falls. It was late in the afternoon. Shnai maybe Asham Toli. If it's two, we're not sure if it's night or day, so therefore you bring an Asham Toli, which is what you bring when you're not sure if you actually committed a sin in which you're chayav chatos. Shlosha maybe chatos. If you did it after you saw three stars, it's definitely considered chayav chatos. And the converse is Motzei Shabbos. Motzei Shabbos Rakol Chavecha V'Asam Malacha. Maybe chatos. You saw one star, you did malacha, you bring chatos. Shnai maybe Asham Tali. See, two stars are bringing Asham Tali. Shlosha Potter. Three, it's Potter. Although here, Potter should mean really mutter. So it's not clear which Potter is dafka, which Potter is lav dafka, whether one is mutter and one is, or the other one is mutter, whether one is Potter, is aser. In other words, it's not clear here from the language, but our assumption is that after three stars, it should lichora be absolute nighttime. So the Gemara discusses this issue here. Yosef boy. Yosef asked the question. In Tamar, now the word boy in the Yerushalmi, it's important to know, sometimes is a question and sometimes is a statement. But here it seems to be a question. Yossi boom boy. In Tamar Shnaim Suffolk. You're going to say two stars is a suffix. Ra Shnei Kochavim. B'motzei Shabbos. I'm sorry, Ra Shnei Kochavim Erev Shabbos. So cute Chabi is about to ask. If you see two stars on Erev Shabbos, Yisuban, they warned him, Basa Malacha, and he did work. Okay, now so, just not totally so far. But Rosh Teko Chum Motzei Shabbos. He saw two stars Motzei Shabbos, Yisuban, Basa Malacha, and then they gave him warning he did Malacha. Manav Shach. Now, no matter what, it should be Chayav Chatos. Image training behind. If the second ones are day, first one's a day, and it was Erev Shabbos is daytime when he did the work, and he was, but there wasn't Chayav Korban because of that. So then, Avachroinim Yom Hein, be a Chayav. So the second ones would be daytime, and he would definitely Chayav. al achronim. Conversely, if the last days were night, the second day was night when he did the work. The 2 days were there, two suns already light and dark. Avishayim Lila. So then on Friday it was also already nighttime. The Yechayev Avishayim. Yechayev on both of them. So we see clearly that Potter, in this case, is only speaking about carbon. We're not talking about whether it's mutter or usher. Potter is chayav carbon, chayav potter from carbon. Chayav is chayav, maybe chatos is the opposite of that. In the middle, you have asham toli. So whether it's potter mutter, not potter mutter, that's not the issue of our sugya here. It's a question of karbanos. But he's saying if you're mitzaref the two sveikas, you should definitely be chayav a carbon because you were sinned. Either you sinned on Arab Shabbos or you sinned on Motzei Shabbos. Between the two of them, one was definitely an Aveira, so you should definitely have to be a Chatos, not an Asham Toli, if you did the Malacha at the same time of two stars, both on Arab Shabbos and Motzei Shabbos. Because the man of Shach, one of them had to have been nighttime. Similarly, Rosh Nekochim Arab Shabbos, if we saw two stars on Arab Shabbos, Katzah Kechatzi Kogeres, b'shachris, you did a half a grogeres on Friday night at the time of Suffolk. You know, the chayav obviously because an entire grogeres. That's a shear. You chayav the carbon. So you did a half a grogeres Friday night. Another half a grogeres Shabbos morning. Obviously, it's pehelim echad, one period of forgetfulness, because otherwise they don't join together to make a carbon. And the kotze grogere, and you saw two stars Motzei Shabbos. Because of kechatzi grogeres, you harvested half a grogeres, half the size of a large date. Manav shach. Either way, it should be chayav a carbon. Again, imer is shainim yom. If the first Arab Shabbos, the two stars were daylight. Then also the two stars Motzei Shabbos daylight. And then the malach you did in the morning should be to join together with malach you did Motzei Shabbos. You chayav al achronim. You should chayav on the later on the malacha of Shachris with Motzei Shabbos. Im achronim laila. I think I skipped here. 1 second. No, the first ones were I got it right. If the second one was starting Motzei Shabbos were nighttime, right after Shabbos, so to the first ones are nighttime. So the ones in the morning join together with Leil Shabbos. We chayav on the first two half grogros, the ones from Erev Shabbos and Motzei Shabbos. And chakras, sorry, and the ones from Erev Shabbos and chakras. So the Gemara gives says an interesting line here, which goes on to the next page. This is talking about stars which are not seen during the day. So the those which can be seen during the day, we don't go by them. So what's most interesting, though, is that the Yerushalmi doesn't actually answer the questions which Rabbi Yossi asks. And this is the derech of the Yerushalmi very often. Yerushalmi brings points up and doesn't necessarily go on to resolve them. It's as if it says, Lahoyer Bossi. I came just to arouse the issue. And it's a good question, but Yerushalmi does not deal with an answer here. The Gemara Yerushalmi goes on to clarify more matters about the stars. And in fact, we leave this dangling, at least for the time being. So the Yerushalmi now is going back to talk about these three stars, which we mentioned before. So it says quite clearly, not talking about stars which can be seen during the day. The Yomama, those stars Jesus say, which again are usually the planets. We don't use them to determine what Seisel Chavim is. and we're going to give additional qualification when we get to tomorrow's daf.